In this video, me and Florian, we are going to be walking through our guilds, the guilds which we have initially will be kicking off at WunderCon this week, Friday. So we wanted to give you a first and quick idea about what thinking has been put into these guilds. Florian, you can also say hello.
Yeah, hello. So I guess, well, this is a process that we've put quite a good amount of thought in, and I guess it's good if we kind of communicate some of those thoughts, because yes, it might seem that some of the guilds are quite arbitrary. In a way they are, but I guess it's really important for people to understand what's the reasoning behind those guilds. A general comment regarding all the technical guilds, at least. Some of the feedback has been that it's a very simplistic way of looking at things. For example, just taking a Drupal guild or a JavaScript guild, really focus on the technology. And we realize that there's a lot more nuances that are needed, a lot more fine details. It's in the end, it does not come down to just what technology you're using. At the same time, since we know that we will get things wrong in the first iteration, and that we'll need to iterate and optimize things, it really makes sense to start with something that's rather on the simple side, even maybe being too simplistic, so that, well, we can iterate more easily. So we don't want to make too many assumptions, and also it should be the people within the guild that actually really take those more opinionated decisions. So it doesn't make sense for anyone to make a decision on behalf of a guild before that guild even exists.
Okay, we will move on to the first guild. Florian, go ahead. Tell us, why does Solutions Architects Guild exist at Wunder?
Yeah, so I guess this is something that we see that there's been different forms of meetings and channels for discussions around how we build projects, and this involves not necessarily like so many technical details, but more the bigger picture. What kind of strategy do we have? What kind of infrastructure? What kind of technology do we want to use? And more concretely, when it comes to proposals, what do we sell to our clients in terms of like how we put things together? What tools do we use? What workflows do we use? And really looking at making things consistent across different projects so that we have better synergies, yeah, really across projects. And so these are solutions architects are typically people who are involved in proposals, as I mentioned, but also leading teams and yeah, making bigger picture decisions. Of course, it's always with the project teams, but yeah, the people who are in the end responsible for those decisions, and also very often communicating with clients when it comes to what it is that we're building.
A question from my side regarding architects is that, how do you think, or will it work that we put architects into a single guild, and how do you expect them to then collaborate with the other guilds?
Yeah, that's a good point. So, well, I guess every person who's in this guild already knows quite a lot about different technologies, and I guess the thing that's special about those architects is that they know about more than one technology. So they don't only know about React, they know how React fits in with the server-side part, how it fits in with the integrations, eventually with the search system, also how it plays into the kind of offering that we have. So it's well, you need to be a bit of a jack of all trades to be in this guild. So you need some deep technical expertise in some places. That's definitely useful, but in day-to-day work, it really comes to understanding how the different pieces fit together. And of course, there's a huge need for coordination with different guilds on the more detailed aspect of the technology.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next one.
Yeah, so this is one for you.
All right. So why do we have human experience guild at Wunder? So during the process, we fairly quickly identified that we have in the supporting roles, especially in talent team, but also in countries, starting from office managers and country managers, we have a lot of different roles whose primary job is not to work directly at the customer front, but they are the ones who are helping others succeeding in those roles. And we really identified that, okay, we can't just have separate guilds for office managers or have a HR guild or something like this. They would become too small. So we started to think more like combining certain competences into a single guild and then finding the common denominator of them and then building on top of that. So in the beginning, we called this, or we played with an idea of calling this guild maybe employee experience, but that also started to feel a little bit more too limiting for this guild. Yes, quite often we are working for our employees, but we are also working for our customers or their customers. And when we started to also think about which kind of people might be interested in this guild, we also identified, for example, marketing team, certain members who are very enthusiastic about how people collaborate and communicate each other. For example, how does feelings or emotions travel through video conferencing solutions? These are very relevant things for Wunder, as we are also in a virtual collaboration, working with our team members across different offices and countries. So
yeah, and I think it's really great that we have some guilds that are not only focused on the offering towards the outside to clients, but also making sure that the whole ecosystem that we have, that really each part it really has the means to optimize and to improve the way that we do things, not only for clients.
yeah. All right, moving on to the next one, Drupal Guild.
So Drupal. So I guess this might be like the most obvious guild. So we have been a Drupal company for many years. We have mostly Drupal projects. So it kind of makes sense to have a Drupal guild. And I guess what's important here is that it's not only about Drupal, the technology. So it's people who do Drupal on their day-to-day work. But if these people want to discuss other CMS solution, for example, well, this is definitely the right guild to discuss this. If you want to discuss Composer or Codeception or different kinds of code quality tools that fit in with Drupal, then this also is the right place to discuss those. So it's yeah, the title is quite old school, and we've also been wondering about like eventually splitting this into Drupal 7, Drupal 8. But I guess what we see is that yes, it's about working with Drupal, improving the way that we work with Drupal, and also looking at where the future is heading for Drupal-related projects.
This guild is also a little bit on the higher side or the too large side. So we have like initially we thought of like already at launch having a separate guild for Drupal 7 or Drupal 8, or calling it headless CMS, the Drupal 8 part or something like that. But then we thought that we would let this guild themselves to influence how they want to organize, whether they want to gather everyone, let's say every other guild meeting or something like this, that anyway they will have a lot in common, like that abstracting that CMS understanding and expertise from the versions that we are using. That's common for everyone. But then if they want to meet in a more relevant subgroups, for example, that's also one possible way of organizing this large guild.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we have next? Concept creators, that's for you.
Yeah, so this was one of the interesting guilds that we thought that we want to boldly go beyond existing boundaries of countries, units, teams, and roles. We really wanted to gather competences from all of these earlier groups and create guilds around them. So we fairly quickly identified that we had people in consultants and designers who were creating strategies or creating higher level plans and roadmaps for our customers before anything is built. So we have these different role people in different teams earlier, and we really wanted to create a guild that would gather these experts regardless of which team they had earlier belonged to.
Okay, so IT, Ops, and DevOps. Yes, I guess this one is, it's also quite straightforward, but we want to extend this a bit beyond what's currently the Ops team. So it's not only taking care of what, like existing servers and well, services and infrastructure. A lot of stuff nowadays in that world is not like a physical server anymore. So we're extending that to also make sure that we have this DevOps aspect considering the interaction between operations and development, and really seeing this as a living tool for everything that we do. It also includes some topics that we are pushing forward, so not something that's completely new to us, but definitely something that we want to reinforce, things like public cloud and modern infrastructures.
At launch, this guild looks like a little bit smaller guild compared to other larger guilds. How would you see the future of this guild? Do you see that we are probably going to be getting more people into the, let's say, public cloud, which is a hot term currently? So how do you see the future of this guild?
Yeah, I would definitely see that it's a guild that would grow in the future. We see that the more we have decoupled projects that have more, like, that move the complexity rather than having everything, like the whole complexity inside one big application, that this complexity is distributed across different services. It also means that the infrastructure itself is more complex, and it means that there's more work that is really going into this kind of setup. And I think it's really something that it makes sense for developers to get more familiar with that side of things. It's a very interesting world, and I think it's also something that we already see some demand, and we'll see even more in the future. So yes, customer farmers.
Okay, so this guild also started from a little bit practical background, that we have different roles working at the customer frontline, for example, account managers, service managers, and delivery managers. We thought of what is the relevant skills or the common nominators that all of these roles need to have, and we identified excellent customer communication skills. For example, customers might have tricky situations or challenges, and these people are the ones who need to have great communication skills to settle the customers and to handle also difficult situations. All of these roles also need to have certain sales skills, not the kind of pushy sales where we are forcing customers to buy something that they don't need, but kind of offering our help, the natural way of offering our expertise. These roles will benefit of having certain sales competences and sales skills. So we thought of having them, having this as one of the focus areas for this guild.
Yeah, Elasticsearch. So I guess this is one of the ones that maybe makes people wonder, like, it seems like a very, very narrow topic. And actually this is maybe because of the way that we've used Elasticsearch so far. So it's become the the go-to solution when it comes to building search interfaces, whether it's a full text search or structured search with facets and different kind of filters. But actually, the reason why we call this Elasticsearch rather than just search is that we wanted to take a wider look at the types of projects that are enabled with Elasticsearch. And this really goes way beyond simple application search. And this is something that we haven't been doing that much, but at the same time, we already have many projects where we have very different use cases of Elasticsearch. For example, for Trafi, where Elasticsearch pretty much delivers the entire content to the website. So everything that you see is on the page is actually coming from Elasticsearch. This is just one more use case, but there's a whole world of data analysis and yeah, optimization and really like getting insights into what's happening to all kinds of all kinds of things, whatever we can get data from. And this is something that's really super exciting. And what's interesting there is that we already know the technical aspects. So what we're going to do is that we're going to mix some of that technical expertise and also provide a context in which it's also possible to not only talk about technical solutions for things that we are already doing, but also expanding this to problems that we can already solve that we are not actively selling. And so I think this is something that can really expand a lot on what we can do with Elasticsearch. And it's a technology that we haven't mentioned much in the recent discussions about technology strategy, but I still believe this is one that is very, very much present and that needs to be present in our strategy. It's just that it has been there before, so it hasn't gotten the same attention as React, for example.
Okay, no further questions. That was very well described.
Yeah, experienced creators.
Okay, this is a little bit related to the concept creators and also a similar approach that we wanted to rethink outside earlier existing teams. So gathering people from designers, also data and analytics consultants, accessibility, these are the people who will start in this guild to develop our user experience services and competence further.
Okay, so UI devs. So this is actually a topic that's been a discussion for quite a while, and I guess this guild and the next guild would be what would have been called a few years ago the front end people. And what we've seen is that there's, like, from different sides, we've seen that this is not actually a useful terminology because front end can mean a lot of things nowadays. And many people have said, but I'm a front end developer, but I do this and not this. And the two kind of like big focus areas that we can see are, on one hand, UI interface, so user interface development. So really focusing on how things look and how people interact with this, whether it's just like interacting through just like looking and understanding what's on the page, or it can also be in terms of managing forms and making things accessible, usable, good looking, and so on. And so one of the questions there was, well, where is React? Is React in the user interface, or is that in the JavaScript development, which is the next field? And I actually think that React is a technology that's in both fields. It's used differently because React is both, well, it's a JavaScript framework, but it's also, in a way, when you use React to build a user interface or to build a website, React is also a templating language. And it really replaces Twig, the role that Twig had for a traditional Drupal project. And so I think that, yes, it's mainly about the user interface, but it also includes some technologies that make those user interfaces possible. And I think there, again, there's some really strong connections to other guilds. One of them that I think is really important is the design aspect. So working with the experience creators to really like figure out like, well, pretty much taking what it is that we're building and making things more concrete. And at the same time, also a deeper collaboration with the JavaScript guild, because as I mentioned, there's a few technologies that definitely overlap. And I guess also in the same way with the Drupal guild about tweak and so on.
Okay,
yeah.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, and I guess the JavaScript guild is the other part, the other front end. It's the back end to the front end, and all of these on the fence terms. So yeah, as it says there, the skill is really on the fence between back end and front end. So it's about JavaScript, it's about business logic, it's about yes, also sometimes user interaction. More like less about the user interaction, more when it comes to saving state, managing routing, business logic, database integrations, all of these things. And it's a big world. There's a lot of things in there. And we also have a lot of people. So maybe we will need to further refine this in the future. But I think that for now, it really makes sense to keep everyone together. And then there's like this guild also has quite a few connection points to others. For example, when we're talking about serverless, there are some nice connections with the Ops and DevOps and infrastructure guild. So yeah, none of these guilds really sits in isolation, and I think the JavaScript dev is no exception.
Okay, thanks. I think we reached the end of our guilds, and hopefully we will get a new picture for the ending slide at WonderCon as well.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to join Talent Tree channel on Slack, and we will be happy to discuss further, or see you at WonderCon and we will discuss there.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.